Hello everyone. Hi, I'm Margaret and welcome to Deliciously Sweet and Savory. Today's recipe is a Cuban dessert called Capuchinos and is a favorite among my family for its delicate texture and unique flavor profile. So let's get started. These are the ingredients you will need. For the cake you need 1 whole egg and 11 egg yolks, 4 tablespoons of sugar, 2.5 tablespoons of flour, half a cup of cornstarch, a pinch of salt, and 1 teaspoon vanilla extract. For the syrup you need 2 cups of sugar, 2.5 cups of water, 3 cinnamon sticks, lime peels from 2 limes, 2 teaspoons vanilla extract, and 1 tablespoon anise liqueur or extract. You also need parchment paper cut into 6-inch squares. First we want to get the cappuccino tray set up. I use a mini cheesecake pan with open bottoms, horn molds, and 2 metal racks to raise the pan about 2 inches over a baking sheet so I can make the cappuccinos the traditional cone shape. However, if you don't have those materials, you can use a mini cupcake tray instead. The shape will be different, but the flavor will turn out the same. Next, we want to roll the paper cones using a metal cone as a guide. Take 1 square piece of parchment paper and wrap it around the metal cone. Then gently cup the paper cone in one hand and use the other hand to remove the metal cone. Switch the paper cone to inside of the metal cone. Then pull on the inside paper fold of the cone and twist to close any hole on the bottom of the cone. The tip of the paper should show outside of the bottom of the metal cone. Gently twist the paper cone tip to ensure it is fully sealed. Let's do one more. Wrap the parchment paper around the metal cone. Cup the paper in one hand and use the other hand to remove the metal cone. Then switch the paper to the inside of the metal cone. Shift the inside paper fold of the cone to close any hole on the bottom. The paper tip should show outside of the bottom of the metal cone. Twist the paper cone tip gently to seal the bottom of the cone. Repeat the process for the rest of the cones. Now check the inside of the cones and use a little butter to hold down any folding corners or edges. Just use a thin knife to put a small amount of butter under the folding corner or edge. Then use your fingers to press down. The paper should stick and the inside of the cone should be flat. You want the inside of the cones to be flat so that none of the cake batter goes between the folds, as it will make the cakes difficult to remove once cooked and can even make them tear or break apart. So carefully check each of the cones. Once finished setting up the cones, place the cones on the rack and we can now begin making the cappuccino batter. First you'll want to take 11 eggs and separate the egg yolks from the egg whites. Save the egg whites to try my meringue recipe or for some other purpose. Now beat the egg whites and whole egg for 3 minutes on medium-high speed using a standard mixer, or high speed if using a handheld mixer. After 3 minutes, it should look frothy and be a paler yellow color. At this point, we add in 4 tablespoons of sugar, a pinch of salt, and 1 teaspoon vanilla extract. Then beat on medium-high for 5 minutes if using a standard mixer, and high if using a handheld mixer. After 5 minutes, the mixture should have significantly increased in volume and be thicker. Add the flour to the mixture and gently fold in with a spatula. Make sure to do this if using a handheld mixer to avoid a cloud of flour or cornstarch. Then mix on low for about 15 seconds. Now gradually add in the cornstarch a tablespoon or 2 at a time. And mix on low speed until the cornstarch is incorporated. Be sure to scrape down the sides with a spatula and mix one more time for 20 seconds to ensure the cornstarch is well incorporated. Next, we are going to fill the parchment paper cones with the cappuccino cake batter. First, preheat the oven to 300 degrees Fahrenheit. To fill the cones, I like to use a small ladle spoon, but a pastry bag can also be used. Use whatever you are comfortable with. Fill the cones at least 2/3 of the way, leaving at least an inch or more of the cones empty, because this cake mixture expands a lot when baking. Clean up any streaks, but don't worry too much as the cake will either expand and cover it, or any imperfections can be removed later on after baking. Repeat the process until the cones of the tray are filled. Then place the cappuccinos in the oven for 25 to 30 minutes until golden brown on top. Be sure to place the tray in the middle of the oven, but low enough that the tops of the parchment paper cones are not hitting the top of the oven. While waiting for our cappuccinos to bake, we are going to make the syrup. Add 2 cups of sugar, 2.5 cups of water, 3 cinnamon sticks, and peels from 2 limes, which can be grated or just use the peeler to get the outer layer. Now put on the stove, bring to a boil, and then lower to medium-low heat, and let simmer until the cappuccinos are done. After 25 minutes, the cappuccinos should be done. If they aren't golden brown on top, let the cappuccinos cook for an additional 5 minutes. Once finished, carefully remove the cappuccinos from the metal cones. Next, carefully remove the parchment papers from the cakes. Arrange the cakes in a 9 by 13 inch size pan, at least 2 inches deep. Be sure to leave a ½ inch or 1 inch of space between the cappuccinos, as they will expand once the syrup is added. Then immediately and gently pour the hot syrup over and around the cappuccinos. Make sure to strain the syrup to remove the lime peels and cinnamon sticks. Pour about 3 3/4 cups of the syrup into the tray incrementally, 1 cup at a time. The cappuccino should end up partially submerged and floating in the syrup. I used the remaining syrup for half a dozen cappuccinos that were made with this recipe and were placed in another tray. Now let the cappuccino sit at room temperature for 30 minutes to allow the syrup to be absorbed. Then we have to refrigerate the cappuccinos overnight before they can be eaten. After soaking overnight, the cappuccinos are ready to be eaten. These can be served on a plate and eaten with a fork, or on cupcake papers and eaten with your hand like any other pastry. Cappuccinos pair amazingly well with espresso or a cup of cafe con leche. Whether you like coffee or not, you will enjoy the delicate sponge cake of the cappuccinos and the amazing flavor the vanilla, anise, cinnamon, limes, and sugar create. If you enjoyed this recipe, please leave a like or subscribe to my channel for more recipes like this one. The link for the written instructions for my recipes is provided in the description. Also, if there are any recipes, Cuban or otherwise, that you'd like to see, leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, and see you soon with another recipe.